The nation is on edge as President Trump signals he may invoke the Insurrection Act, allowing the military to enforce domestic law. This move would break with long-standing American tradition, raising fears of a constitutional crisis. Trump's comments came in response to legal challenges blocking his use of the National Guard for domestic policing. He warned that if courts or local officials hold us up while people are being killed, he'll turn to active-duty troops. Critics call this a dangerous overreach, bypassing legal checks on presidential power. The debate now centers on the very structure of our democracy and the limits of executive authority. Trump has floated this idea before, both during his campaign and at the end of his first term. Now back in office, the Insurrection Act is again at the center of a heated political debate. The law, rarely used in modern times, is suddenly a real possibility. The question, is this just rhetoric or a genuine prelude to action? The stakes are high, with the potential to fundamentally alter the relationship between the government and its citizens. The nation waits, uncertain of what comes next. The line between order and overreach has never felt thinner. The immediate trigger for Trump's threat was a federal judge's ruling in Portland, Oregon. The judge blocked Trump from sending National Guard troops to the city, affirming that states control their own law enforcement. Trump lashed out, calling the judge biased and accusing her of ignoring chaos in Portland. This is part of a pattern. When courts rule against him, Trump attacks their legitimacy. The administration frames Portland as a symbol of lawlessness under Democratic leadership, justifying federal intervention. The legal battle has become a national debate over states' rights, federal power, and the military's role in civil society. The court's decision was meant to check executive power, but it's prompted Trump to threaten even more extreme measures. The standoff is no longer just about protesters and police, it's a direct confrontation between the president and the judiciary. Portland is now a symbol in a high-stakes political drama. The outcome could redefine the balance of power in America. The nation watches as the conflict escalates. The rule of law itself is on trial. The Insurrection Act of 1807 gives the president sweeping authority to deploy the military on U.S. soil. It was designed for rare crises, rebellions, not routine unrest. Historically, it's been used sparingly, often with state consent, like during the Little Rock desegregation and the LA riots. Using it against a state's wishes would be unprecedented in modern times. The law bypasses the Posse Comitatus Act, which normally bars military involvement in domestic policing. Legal experts warn the act's broad language gives the president dangerous discretion. Labeling protests as insurrection could justify a military crackdown on dissent. Critics argue this risks chilling free speech and assembly. The administration's push for a broader interpretation raises profound constitutional questions. Is unrest in Portland or any city truly an insurrection? The answer could set a precedent for presidential power for generations. The decision to invoke the act would fundamentally alter the relationship between Americans and their government. The stakes could not be higher. The White House is now targeting the legal system itself. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller called recent court rulings a legal insurrection. This reframes judicial checks as rebellion, not oversight. Miller claims courts are usurping powers reserved for the president, demanding judges defer to executive authority. This rhetoric undermines the principle of an independent judiciary, a cornerstone of democracy. By casting legal opposition as treasonous, the administration blurs the line between dissent and disloyalty. It's a powerful political tool, justifying extraordinary measures to bypass the courts. The message, any challenge to presidential power is an attack on the Constitution itself. This isn't just about Portland, it's about reshaping how Americans view government and the law. The administration seeks to create a climate where the president's power is absolute. The implications for democracy are profound. The battle over checks and balance has never been more urgent. America stands at a crossroads. Trump's threat to invoke the Insurrection Act could trigger a constitutional crisis unlike any in modern history. Deploying troops against the will of local officials would politicize the military and shock the world. Legal challenges would escalate to the Supreme Court, forcing a reckoning over presidential limits. The risk of violent confrontation between troops and civilians is real. Such a move could set a dangerous precedent for future presidents to use the military against political opposition. The traditional line between policing and national defense would blur, perhaps permanently. Trust in the military and government could be deeply damaged. The coming days will test the resilience of America's institutions and its commitment to democracy. The world is watching to see if the U.S. will uphold its founding principles or slide toward authoritarianism. The stakes are immense, and the outcome uncertain. The nation holds its breath, waiting for what comes next.